Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about the information war and who's winning or losing the information war. And the Russians are actually doing a really good job at it. The Ukrainians have done a good job by speaking through direct channels like Zelensky, but the Russians are good at circumventing direct channels and having surrogates speak for them either wittingly, uh, as maybe some people who are on the take do, or unwittingly, as maybe Joe Rogan has recently. And I'm going to do a video just about Joe Rogan. But I was thinking about this and I was thinking, okay, if we use the Leesburg grid, now the Leesburg grid is something that politicians use in order to frame who they are as opposed to who their opponent is. And there's basically four components to this. Like it's just a 2x2 box. And in the first, it's what we want to say about us and what we want to say about our opponent. And then what our opponent wants to say about himself or about us. And then what our opponent wants to say about our opponent. Okay. So now when I use us and them here, us is Ukraine and them is Russia. Even though I'm saying us and I'm an American, this is what Ukraine wants to do. So let's think about how they would use this in just terms of what the nature of the conflict is. So us. Ukraine wants to say about Ukraine that they are the defenders, right? That they really are. They're being invaded. What Ukraine wants to say about them, is that Russia is engaged in now not a war, not a special military operation, but a war, right? And they're the attackers. Now, what Russia wants to say about this is that them about us is that Ukrainians have forced this war upon them, and this is something that they have to do. And what they want to say about them is that they're going to liberate Ukrainians from Nazis. Like, how crazy is that, right? So it's very different perspectives. Even the language of special military operation, which Russia uses, as opposed to war or full-scale war, which is what Ukrainians use, there's a big difference. And then something like, who are the madmen here? The Ukrainians are going to say, no, we're just defending our wives and our home and our lands, right? We're the sensible people just trying to survive. And what Ukrainians will say about Russian is, look how they escalate. Look how they keep doing this. Look how they're attacking civilian populations. This is crazy. The world's not stopping it. And they'll keep coming. And then Europe is next. And then what Russia will say about Ukraine is that Ukraine's provoking. Ukraine is causing this. Ukraine is making them do this. And then what Russia will say about Russia is, who are the madmen? We're not the madmen. Ukrainians, they're the madmen. Look, they're firing long-range missiles into Ukraine, right? Well, while we're at that, let's talk about long-range and ICBMs. What just happened over the last week. Ukraine on Ukraine. Ukraine is defending itself, finally getting permission to shoot these long-range missiles into Russia so they can feel what's going on. Ukraine on Russia. Russia are the ones that are escalating by doing this thing with the ICBM. This is crazy, and the world's not responding. And if the world doesn't respond, they're going to do more. Them on us, Russia on Ukraine. So they're going to say that Ukraine, they're the problem by doing more of this kind of thing. It's like they're trying to provoke us to have to do more and more. And then Russia on Russia, we're just defending ourselves. We just have to do this to show them that this is what the consequences of a nuclear war are going to be. And again, Russia talks a lot about nuclear war every time Russia escalates. So if you understand the Leesburg grid, it'll help you understand. But in the information space, I think the Russians are doing a really, really good job, unfortunately, in this, like, to the degree that right now we have Joe Rogan repeating Russian talking points. I don't believe that Joe Rogan is being paid. He doesn't need to be paid. He's filthy rich. I don't believe he's being paid by the Russians, but I think the information that he surrounds himself with is leading him to conclusions that are exactly the conclusions that the Russians want him to purvey. And because he's doing that, unwittingly perhaps, but because he's doing that, the Russians are getting their way in this. They're getting a victory here in the informational space. Okay, I hope the Leesburg Grid helps you understand how to think about the information space, and tell me if this was useful. If you had aha, just put that in the comments below. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.